Setareh is a lupus patient, longtime volunteer at the Lupus Foundation of Northern California, and has her master's degree in integrative health. Through turning around her own health through healthy lifestyle practices, she became fascinated by what patients with autoimmune disease could do to help themselves. She is the founder of Setareh Health, where she coaches clients with chronic diseases one-on-one to help them make healthy behavior changes to improve their health and overall well-being. Welcome, Setareh.
Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, does that look good? Everyone can see that?
Looks good.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for welcoming me into the space. Thank you, LFNC, who has been really a source of support for me for so long, for the last 10 years as I've been engaging with the Lupus Foundation. So a little bit of a story about myself. I was diagnosed with SLE and lupus nephritis in 2001. I was 18 years old, and the whole diagnosis was really overwhelming to me. I had a lot of joint pain, was exhausted all the time, and had overwhelming brain fog. I had to see so many different doctors, and I remember that one question I would always ask is what I could do to help myself. They didn't have a lot of answers for me at the time, other than that I should take my medications, avoid the sun, and rest as much as I could. This was what started me on my own journey that would help me to better manage my illness and live my best life possible. In my graduate program, I focused primarily on lupus and have read over 100 studies from around the world on everything from acupuncture to guided imagery to really learn more about what self-management strategies are more effective. Keep in mind that these are all alongside the standard care that we get from our doctor. So everything that I will be talking about are things that we can do on our own. They are free for the most part and easy to incorporate. My hope is to share some of these with you. The session topic today, self-care, stress management, and sleep, was chosen by you, the lupus patients that are part of the LFNC, in a survey that was sent out late last year by the Lupus Foundation. I believe that we'll all get the most from the presentation by making it as interactive as possible. So my one ask of you is that you keep the chat open and chime in as often as you can. I'm excited to get started, so let's begin. I want to start with one of the factors that has had a huge impact on any and all chronic illnesses, but especially autoimmune disease, and that is stress. How many of you can trace the initial onset of your illness or a flare to a period of stress in your life? I want to see if we can use the chat here. Let me bring this up. So go ahead and just write in the chat, give me a yes if that is true for you, that you can trace your diagnosis of lupus to stress. It turns out that of all the forms of stress, emotional stress has the most difficult impact on our systems. I've heard many lupus patients say that their illness started after going through a serious loss or major life event that caused them a great deal of stress. So financial concerns, relationship problems, life transitions like moving or starting a new job, worrying about health issues, and social pressure are some of the most common sources of stress for most individuals, but for those living with autoimmune disease, these are intensified due to the unpredictable nature of the illness and the daily strain that it puts on our relationships, finances, and abilities to work. Studies have found that patients with SLE suffer from higher daily stress compared to the general population. A little bit. So what can we do to keep stress from ruining our health? Because as much as we try, it's a part of our day-to-day lives. There's something we can do, and that is to create regular outlets for our stress so it doesn't wreak havoc on our health. To illustrate this point, let's think of the analogy of a pressure cooker. So a pressure cooker, many of you have seen one. Now we have Instapots, but it's basically a container that accumulates tension inside. In order to release that tension, there's a valve, the little black and silver thing on the top, and it consistently and regularly releases steam. What this does is it regulates the internal pressure, and also it keeps the pressure cooker from exploding. It can be the same with the tension and stress that build up in our lives. We often can't prevent the stress from happening, but what we can do is create regular and consistent outlets for its release. Open this up a little more so you can just see my whole screen. So how we release stress is going to look different for everyone. And I'd love to hear more about the ways in which you relieve stress. I want to start here, however, on some of the proven ways to effectively release stress. Physical activity, especially aerobic exercise, has been shown to reduce stress hormones and to trigger the release of endorphins, which promote a positive mood. Relaxation techniques such as reading, listening to music, or taking a warm bath, getting a massage, making art. There may be others that you practice. There are so many, and they're really individualized to what helps you to just decompress. Spending time in nature, taking a walk outside, going on a hike, or just sitting in the park and listening to the birds sing. Nature has been shown to relieve stress in and of itself. And there's a whole body of evidence for something called ecotherapy, which is the study of how nature really heals us from the inside out. Spending time with friends, family, and your community is another great stress relief. And this is especially so if people are supportive and understanding about your illness. Conversely, spending time with people who downplay your symptoms or they don't understand what you are going through can actually have the opposite effect. This has been found in studies. Living with a chronic illness like lupus can be particularly isolating, and it's very important to lean into relationships with people who are supportive and or if they are going through the same thing. Joining one of the lupus support groups can be a wonderful way to speak to other patients who are going through the same thing as you. Journaling is another method that it is very effective as a constructive outlet, just a way to get your thoughts down on paper and to gain perspective. Restorative sleep, which I will get more into later. And I have one more big one, and some of you might guess what that is. And that's meditation and mindfulness. This is the other major practice that releases stress. Let's start with a definition of what each one is. Meditation is a practice that involves training the mind to focus and redirect our thoughts. It typically involves techniques that encourage relaxation, concentration, awareness, and an increased sense of presence in the moment. Meditation has been practiced for centuries in various cultures and spiritual traditions around the world. While there are many different types of meditation, most involve finding a quiet space, sitting or lying down in a comfortable position, and then using a specific technique to guide the mind into a state of deep relaxation and heightened awareness. Common meditation techniques include mindfulness meditation, which involves focusing on the breath or on a bodily sensation, guided visualization, which involves imagining peaceful scenes or positive outcomes. Meditation has been shown to have numerous health benefits, including reducing stress, anxiety, depression, improving focus and awareness, emotional regulation, and promoting a sense of well-being and inner peace. Many people also practice meditation as a spiritual or religious discipline, using it to deepen their connections with themselves, with others, or with a higher power. Mindfulness is a mental state characterized by non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, including thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and the surrounding environment. It involves paying deliberate attention to what is happening in the present moment without getting up in judgment or reactions. While mindfulness is also practiced through meditation techniques such as mindfulness meditation, it can also be cultivated through various everyday activities such as eating, walking, or even washing dishes. The key is to bring your full attention and awareness to the activity that's at hand. So by now, most of us have heard of meditation and mindfulness and maybe have internalized some message about how we should be doing it. It's very common also to resist incorporating it into our routine for various reasons. So it could be our perceived lack of time, challenges sitting still due to a restless mind, or physical discomfort, like physically just not being able to sit for that long, difficulty quieting the mind, or difficulty establishing a routine. Sorry, I lost my place here. It's very common to, we talked about this. So I want to spend a moment to share some of the benefits of a regular practice and also how to make the practice more accessible and enjoyable for yourself. So why should we spend our time meditating? Meditation activates your body's relaxation response, so it's not constantly in fight or flight mode. So some of you have heard this term of fight or flight, and what it is it's a physiological response that occurs in response to a perceived threat or danger, triggering a cascade of physiological changes in the body to prepare the body to either confront the threat, which is to fight, or flee, which is the flight response. It's an evolutionary adaptation that has helped our ancestors survive life-threatening situations. And when the brain perceives a threat, the amygdala, which is part of the brain's limbic system, responsible for processing emotions, activates the body's stress response system. It triggers the release of hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream. These physiological changes prepare the body to react quickly and effectively to perceived danger, increasing the chances of survival. Once the threat has passed, the body's stress response system typically returns to its normal state and the body resumes its normal functions. While the fight or flight response can be helpful in situations where immediate action is necessary, prolonged or frequent activation of this response due to chronic stress can have negative effects on our physical and mental health. Regular mindfulness meditation could lead to a decrease in stress hormones, such as cortisol. Lower cortisol means that your body is not constantly experiencing stress. Mindfulness has been found to help with emotional regulation. In short, it helps you become more aware of your thoughts and your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Many of us with lupus also suffer from an inability to focus, and meditation and mindfulness helps us practice focusing our attention on the present moment instead of our thoughts. This practice can help in other areas of our lives where we need to focus and keep our attention on one thing. Meditation and mindfulness has been found to result in better sleep quality, and as we know and we'll learn about later, better sleep is essential for our overall well-being. These practices also promote resilience by helping us become more aware of our experiences without reacting to them negatively. In doing research for my master's thesis, which was called Addressing Unmet Needs in Lupus Care, I came across several studies on mindfulness-based interventions and how they impact the lives of lupus patients. The one study in particular that I'd like to highlight here, there was a single-blind randomized controlled trial studying mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, looking at psychological symptoms and quality of life for patients who had lupus. 23 patients received the intervention, which was 8 sessions of yoga, formal meditation, or daily mindfulness practices alongside their standard medical care. Another 23 just received the standard medical care without doing the 8 sessions of mindfulness. The researchers found that at the end of the intervention, that there was a significant difference between the group that received the mindfulness intervention in terms of fewer psychological symptoms like anxiety and depression, and their self-reported psychological quality of life. And this benefit even continued for 6 months after the intervention. In addition, the group that received the mindfulness intervention had better self-reported social functioning post-treatment, and the results continued for 6 months after the intervention. Pretty cool, right? And there was a few of these that were done around the world looking at these mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques with lupus patients. Starting a meditation practice can be really simple and doesn't require a significant time requirement. Here are some tips for getting started if you'd like to reap the benefits, especially if you've been resisting or finding it challenging to make the time. So the first tip is to really just start small. Begin with just a few minutes of meditation each day. You can gradually increase the duration as you become more comfortable, and even 2 to 5 minutes can make a difference in how you feel. Choose a convenient time. So find a time that works for you. It could be in the morning, during a break at work, or before bed. Consistency is really key. So try to establish a regular meditation routine. One thing that can be helpful is linking it to an existing habit that you have every day. For example, if you brush your teeth in the morning every day, you can sit down for meditation right after you brush your teeth. Or if you have another habit that you practice, you take your medication at a certain time, you can sit down for meditation after that. Often, if you want to make habits stick, you link them to something that you do every day. So it just becomes a regular, like natural next step for you. You can use guided meditation, so consider using these, especially if you're new to meditation. There are several apps and online resources where you can find guided sessions that provide instruction so that you have a focal point for your attention. This is especially good if you have a hard time focusing. Headspace and Calm are 2 of the popular apps, and I found that if you are a member of your local library, oftentimes you can get Headspace for free, which is pretty cool. Insight Timer is my favorite, and that one is always free, so that's worth checking out as well. The next step is to find a comfortable space. So if you have physical discomfort and sitting still is a limitation, just create a comfortable space. And meditation can even be done lying down, believe it or not. Otherwise, if you're sitting up, you can use a lot of pillows or blankets, or you can even sit in your favorite chair to meditate. You don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor, contrary to what a lot of people think. Explore with different techniques. So you can explore different meditation techniques to find what suits you. And it could include mindfulness meditation, loving kindness, which is where you focus on sending love to others in your life and to yourself. Or you can use focused breathing exercises, and you can find a lot of those online as well. If sitting meditation feels challenging, you can try incorporating mindfulness into daily activities. So we talked about this. This is just being fully present when you're doing one task. So it could be like washing your hands and feeling the warm water, smelling the soap, feeling the traction of your hands against each other. This can bring you into the present moment and to help you to not focus and identify so much with your thoughts or your worries. Always remember, of course, in the bottom there, is to be kind to yourself. It's completely normal during meditation for your mind to wander. And instead of getting frustrated, you can gently bring your focus back to the chosen point of your attention. And be patient with yourself as you develop your practice, if this is something that you chose to do. And remember that the benefits of meditation often come with consistency rather than duration. And by making meditation a really small and manageable part of your daily routine, you might find it easier to overcome resistance and to find a practice that works for you. The next topic I'd like to focus on is sleep and why it's so very important to our overall health as patients living with an autoimmune disease. Sleep is crucial for everyone's health, but it's particularly important for individuals with autoimmune disease due to its role in regulating the immune system. Here's why sleep is especially important for those living with autoimmune disease. The first is immune system regulation. So sleep plays a really important role in regulating the immune system, including the production and activity of your immune cells. Getting enough sleep helps maintain a balanced immune system. Inflammation reduction. So autoimmune diseases often have chronic inflammation, and sleep deprivation can exacerbate inflammation by increasing the levels of inflammatory markers that we have in the body. And this has been found in studies as well. Tissue repair and healing. So sleep is a time when the body undergoes repair and a regenerative process. It's during sleep that damaged tissues are repaired and the body heals itself. And lastly is symptom management. So lack of sleep can really worsen symptoms or make them seem worse, such as fatigue, pain, and brain fog, which are some of the most common symptoms in lupus. It's also been found that it leads to more daytime sleepiness. And one of the most common things we complain about as lupus patients is feeling tired all the time. Believe it or not, setting yourself up for a good night's sleep starts when you open your eyes in the morning. And it has to do with your circadian rhythm or your body's natural sleep-wake cycle. This internal biological clock is responsible for our sleepiness and wakefulness over a 24-hour period. It controls the production of melatonin, which is a hormone that regulates sleep. So optimizing our circadian rhythms can significantly improve our sleep quality. Some things you can do to optimize your circadian rhythm are expose yourself to natural sunlight during the day, and especially in the morning. Sunlight exposure helps regulate the circadian rhythm by signaling to your body that it's time for you to be awake. You can spend time outdoors or near windows, or consider using light therapy lamps if natural light is limited, like in the winter. Here in Northern California, we just had like a period of so many days of rain. And I got myself a therapy light, which emits 10,000 lux of light. And I just put it close to my face when I wake up in the morning. And it really helps. It helps with the winter blues and just kind of to wake your body up and let you know that it's morning, especially when it's dark outside for so long, as it often is. I know that there are restrictions that we have for sun exposure, and that's okay. You can, wear a hat when you go outside. So in other words, you can wear a hat to shield your skin from the sun, but don't wear sunglasses in the morning. What you want is you want your eyes to absorb that light, so it triggers to your body that it's morning and it can start that 24-hour cycle that is so natural to us. As the sun starts to go down in the afternoon or in the evening, depending on what season we are, consider also dimming the lights in your home. This sends a signal to your brain that it's time to wind down, and it optimizes melatonin production, which helps you sleep at night. Most importantly, and many of us are guilty of this, try to limit your exposure to artificial light from electronic devices before bed. Smartphones, tablets, and computers emit a blue light, which signals wakefulness in your brain, and it suppresses melatonin production. So one good practice is to put your phone on the charger 2 hours before going to sleep, or you can use blue light blocking glasses if you read on a tablet or if you need to be on your computer. This blocks the blue light from going into your eyes and signaling to your body that it should be awake. There are also apps that you can install on your devices, and what they do is they naturally dim the light emitted from them in the evening. I use one on my computer or my laptop if I have to be on it late at night, and it's called F Lux. You can do a Google search and find it. It's free, and you can download and install it on your computer or your iPad. Optimizing and aligning with our circadian rhythm is a factor in good sleep hygiene. So sleep hygiene refers to a set of practices and habits that promote healthy sleep patterns and improve the quality of sleep. Here are some aspects of sleep hygiene and how to practice them. So the first one is to maintain a consistent sleep schedule. So you go to bed and you wake up at the same time every day, even on the weekends. Consistency helps regulate your body's internal clock and promotes better sleep quality. So just having a consistent schedule, probably the more important one is what time you go to bed every day. But trying to wake up at the same time is really helpful too. Creating a relaxing bedtime routine. So this signals to your body that it's time to wind down. This can include doing activities like reading a book, taking a warm bath, practicing relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, or doing some gentle stretching. Optimizing your sleep environment. So making your bedroom conducive to sleep by keeping it, the three things are keeping it cool, keeping it dark, and keeping it quiet. So using blackout curtains or an eye mask to block out artificial light, using earplugs or a white noise machine to mask disruptive sounds, and ensuring your mattress or pillows are comfortable and supportive. So limiting exposure to screens before bed. So we talked about this, about the blue light. So the goal is to really stop using electronic devices 2 or maybe 1 hour before bedtime, whatever you can manage, or using the light blocking glasses or screen filters if you have to be on your devices in the evening. The next one is avoiding stimulants and heavy meals before bed. So stimulants like caffeine and nicotine, as well as heavy meals close to bedtime, can disrupt our sleep, our ability to fall asleep, and the quality of our sleep. So a good rule of thumb is to stop having caffeine after 12 p.m. So your body has the time to metabolize the caffeine before you go to bed. Exercising regularly, so engaging in regular physical activity, but try to avoid vigorous exercise close to bedtime as it can be too stimulating. Exercising earlier in the day can promote deeper and more restorative sleep. Limiting naps. So while short naps can be really beneficial, especially for improving our alertness and our mood, avoid long or late afternoon naps, as these can interfere with our ability to fall asleep at night. So it can really eat into our nighttime sleep. And of course, managing stress. So mindfulness, yoga, progressive muscle relaxation helps manage stress and promote relaxation before bedtime. Another technique is if you have a lot on your mind. I'm one of those people who my mind is like always going, and sometimes it prevents me from sleeping. You can practice doing something called a brain dump. So you get a journal or just a piece of paper and you write down everything that is on your mind in that moment. So this way you're not holding it all in your mind as you're trying to sleep. And I found this to be very effective for myself. So I invite you to try it if that's something that you struggle with as well. And then limiting alcohol. So it's a bit of a misconception that alcohol leads to better sleep. Research has shown that while drinking alcohol before bed can help people to fall asleep faster, they're also more likely to wake up more frequently during the night and have lower sleep quality overall. One rule of thumb is to not consume any alcohol 4 hours before bed, so you can give your body time to metabolize the alcohol. And then, of course, seek professional help if needed. If you are consistently struggling with sleep despite practicing good sleep hygiene, consider consulting a healthcare professional or sleep specialist. There could be other factors at play, like sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, depression, mood issues that are interfering with your sleep. That is good to get addressed. And last, but definitely not least, I'd love to discuss self-care, which are the intentional actions we can take to improve our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. As you know, we are whole people. It's not just our physical self. We have an emotional side, a mental side that we have to take care of, and our spirit as well. So we've already covered many of the aspects of how we can support our physical health with the talk from Dr. Wells, improving our sleep, our mental health through setting up regular outlets for stress and starting a meditation or a mindfulness practice. And our emotional health deserves just as much recognition. And as someone living with the unpredictability of an autoimmune disease, our emotions can often feel like a roller coaster. I found that practicing self-compassion to be such an important aspect of my self-care. And this basically means treating myself with the same understanding, gentleness, and compassion that I would give to a friend or a loved one. This also involves speaking kindly to myself and without judgment, even when I make mistakes. Practicing emotional self-care involves nurturing and supporting your emotional well-being. And some effective ways to practice emotional self-care is to identify and validate your emotions. So taking time to recognize and acknowledge your feelings without judgment, validating your emotions as natural responses to your experiences, whether or not you perceive them as positive or negative. Expressing yourself, so finding healthy outlets for expressing your emotions, such as journaling, talking to a trusted friend, a therapist, or engaging in creative activities like art, music, or dance. Setting boundaries, so especially establishing clear boundaries to protect your emotional well-being and to honor your needs. So learning to say no to requests or situations that you find drain your energy or compromise your values. Practicing self-compassion. So we talked about this, treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and self-compassion, especially when you know that you're going through a difficult time. Practicing self-talk that is supportive and nurturing rather than critical or harsh. And interestingly enough, if you choose or have already chosen to take up a meditation or mindfulness practice, you become so much more aware of how you speak to yourself and what are the thoughts that are going on inside your mind from a moment to moment basis. Limiting exposure to negative influences. So minimize exposure to negative people, environments, or media that can exacerbate negative emotions. Surrounding yourself with positive influences and sources of inspiration. Seeking support, reaching out to friends, family members, mental health professionals for support when you're struggling emotionally. Having a supportive network can provide validation, empathy, and perspective. And this is especially important when you're living with lupus, just finding people who understand your struggles and what you're going through. And again, I think the support groups are a wonderful way to do that. Engage in activities that bring you joy. So make time for activities that bring you joy, bring you pleasure, fulfillment, whether it's spending time in nature, pursuing hobbies or interests, or enjoying time with loved ones. Prioritizing these activities really nourish your soul. Of course, if you're experiencing persistent or overwhelming emotional distress, consider seeking the help of a mental health professional, such as a therapist or a counselor. They can provide guidance, support, and coping strategies to help you navigate your emotions more effectively. And remember that emotional self-care is an ongoing process, and it requires self-awareness, self-compassion, and practice. But by incorporating these strategies into your routine, you can nurture your emotional well-being and build resilience in the face of challenges. Again, I want to just thank you so much for your time. I hope that you got at least one takeaway from this presentation that you'll start incorporating into your day-to-day life. Education without action is just information, and it's really by incorporating some small steps that you can start on the path to helping yourself feel better. I welcome any questions about any of the topics we covered today, or even something that we didn't cover. If it feels more comfortable for you to reach out to me one-on-one, please feel free to email me or send me a message through my website, which is listed here, setarehhealth.com. Gonna stop my share.
Thank you, Setareh, for your presentation. It was great. I learned a lot of useful information there. Now we will open the Q&A portion of the event. We will begin with the questions that were asked during the presentation. Feel free to ask additional questions while we are talking. We will try to get through as many questions as we can live, and we'll email you answers to any questions that we are not able to get to today. One question here. What was the free meditation app that you mentioned?
Oh, so the one I like is called Insight Timer. I can put it, let's see if I can put it here. I don't think I have a way to send it to everyone, but Insight, like if you have an insight, like an idea, and then timer is the name of it. So you can look it up in the App Store. It just has like a really wide variety of guided meditations, and even just a timer if you want to sit for 5 minutes and you want a timer with a little bell at the end. I use that every morning and I really like it. The other ones are Headspace and Calm. And I found that through my local library, the Saratoga Library. I think it was Calm. I can't remember if it was Calm or Headspace, but you can get it for free. And they have programs on there for if you're a beginner, like just progressing through starting a meditation practice.
Being a lupus patient yourself, what do you do to de-stress on a daily basis?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess it's changed over the years. These days I'm a mom. I have a 5-year-old. I work, I juggle a lot of different things, and my meditation practice has really sustained me. I can't do too long because I have busy mornings, like trying to help my daughter get out the door for school, but I do about 10 minutes every day, and I'm consistent with it. And I do what I talked about. I link it to my morning routine. So after I brush my teeth, I sit down and I do my meditation every day. And it really just helps me to like center and get my day to a really good start. And if I don't do it, I know, because I feel like something's missing and I didn't quite start my day on a good note. Other things I really love are being outside. So I do most of my exercise outside. I try to go to the park Just like hearing the sound of the birds and like getting the fresh air, I think has been really beneficial for me. I do yoga, so I find classes at my local gym and I go to those. All of them are really gentle, none of these crazy vinyasas or hatha yoga. I find that the exercise that's most gentle is probably what's best for me. So yeah, those are just three things that I do, but it definitely has changed over the years as I became a mom and that put more on my plate, I guess. Uh, any recommendations of food that helps sleep? That is a great question. I do, so it's not a food, but chamomile tea is really lovely for sleep. If you find that you are like trying to just wind down from a really busy day, that's a great way to just like brew yourself a little chamomile tea. They say magnesium is very good for sleep as well. So if that's something that you take as part of your supplement regimen, maybe trying to take it at night, and seeing if that helps. There's a bunch of supplements that are out there from like melatonin that I've tried. I'm probably not in a great position to recommend supplements, but it's something that you can talk to your physician about and try to see what helps you.
Oh, I had a question myself. Do you know
Okay.
if blue light glasses are safe to be worn outside as well?
Mm, why would you want to wear them outside? I'm just curious.
I don't know, sometimes you just like wear glasses because they look cute, you know?
I don't see why not. I mean, the whole point of them is just to block the blue light from your devices. But I don't see why there would be any issue if you wanted to wear them outside. It probably just wouldn't do anything.
I was just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm not getting any other questions on my end,
Okay.
but feel free to keep adding them into the chat.
Hmm.
Should we give them a minute or two?
Sure.
Yeah, let's give it a minute or two. Everyone, remember you can ask your questions anonymously too if you feel like. Something that we didn't mention earlier, Setareh has done a great job about talking about the support groups programs that we do offer, but we also offer, if you don't feel like being in a group, um, which right now are all online, it's not in person. We also have the Buddy program, which is a one-on-one relationship with a lupus patient who's had lupus for a while. And it works really well if you've newly diagnosed or have had it for a while, but just haven't had somebody to talk to. We pair you with another lupus patient, and then you guys could just chat about symptoms or how you deal with things or things much like Setareh had said today. Um, so it's a great program. It's free and it is also virtual. So you can find all the information on that on our website as well.
Yeah, it's so different to talk to other people that have been through something similar than to try to explain it to friends or family members that they're trying to be compassionate, but they don't really understand what it's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've found that to be a really great resource.
I think we have some questions in the chat. Any recommendations for a child?
In terms of what? Um, meditation or mindfulness or any particular thing. Feel free to just add to that. Meditation, mindfulness. Yeah, I do it with my daughter. So if you end up downloading that Insight Timer, there's a whole library of things that you can do with kids on there. And they'll be really short, like maybe 2 minutes. And my daughter is 5 and she's been doing it probably since she was like 3. But just takes them through like breathing, really simple, like little stories or analogies to help them understand what they're doing. And it comes in really helpful when they're having a moment, as we know as parents, where they're like, can't control their anger or their emotions. They have these big emotions that come up, and like right in that moment, you can practice the breathing with them. And I found that really helpful with my daughter. And sometimes I try to get my meditation in before she comes into my room in the morning, but sometimes she'll sneak in when I'm in the middle of it, and she'll just come and sit down right next to me. And we'll just sit there until the timer goes off. And then she knows she can talk or, tickle or, whatever she wants to do. Yeah.
We have another question here. It says, I know you said you were recently working on more schooling as well as having a child. I work full-time as well as being a full-time student. Sometimes I feel like my schedule is too overwhelming. How do you manage with stress management while balancing an overly full schedule?
Yeah. I would say the first thing is to just be mindful of how much you are putting on your plate and make sure that like the activities that you're doing are really necessary and they're working towards the values and the goals that you have in your life. And if it is exciting things like, being a student, like pursuing something that you really want to do. And then of course, most of us have to work. Finding regular outlets, as I said, like think back to that pressure cooker, it's like all these things are happening inside and they're inducing stress, even if they're not negative, they're just demands on our lives. And the heat is circulating, and like that little nozzle on the top is just releasing. So that releasing can be taking a hike in nature, taking a yoga class, taking a couple hours to yourself, whatever it is for you. Find ways just consistently throughout your week to release that pressure so that you can kind of get back to a state where your cup is full, and then you can be present for yourself and for others in your life. Thank you for that question. I see how they're just making sure she's feeling okay in her body and helping her understand a little more. Yeah, those practices are good. Check out the Insight Timer, and then look up kids or children, and you'll find a lot of good resources. Sorry, was someone going to say something, Lori?
No, I was just going to read that question.
Ah.
Here's another question. I taught first grade and have done mindfulness in the classroom. We place stuffed animals, buddies on our belly, and can see how our benefits go in and out. So very calming and intentional.
Yes, that's awesome. We place stuffed animals on our belly. Yeah, that's really good. I've seen it done with like little like puffs that they even can put in front of their nose to like see, how it moves with the air. Yeah, it's eye-opening for kids, and they remember it. My daughter was doing it in preschool and she still remembers. And they did yoga too, and she remembers that, and like sitting and breathing. I'm glad that we're teaching these things to kids from a younger age, because I didn't come across it until way later in life when I really needed it because of managing my lupus.
I don't think we have any more questions. So I think we can wrap it up now. Thank you again to our presenters. I hope everyone learned something new today. I know I did. If you want to rewatch today's conference, it will be available on demand next week. Watch for an email with the link. Please be sure to take this survey you will receive via email. This will help us find topics which are interesting to you and know how the conferences can be improved. For additional resources or questions, please visit our website at www.lfnc.org or email us at communications@lfnc.org. I hope you all had a good day today and that you will join us for our other lupus health conferences this year. Watch our social media website or your emails for more information. Thank you for joining us today and have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.